allows you to earn token, and then you can burn the token to get other NFTs through that. My background is I worked for over 20 years. Over 20 years in creative strategy, brand positioning, and product line development, working with like enterprise brands in the entertainment, resort, fashion, athletic, kind of any space you can think of. I grand opened that W hotels in Times Square, for example.
Branding is so important. People forget that like branding is everything, even in this one.
Yeah. So what's really interesting to me within the Web3 space is that everybody's thinking that there's this like new thing and this new secret and like taking like, I think in a lot of ways a siloed approach, but community building is the same outcome no matter what the tool is. And so I think that people are focusing on outcomes as opposed to approaches. And so what I would tell my clients for many, many years is super simple. You want to connect emotionally with somebody, and once you've done that, you can compel them to take action. So the short form is like connect and compel. But I think that that's the way that consumers make decisions. We all do that, even me. Like we like to think we're so sophisticated, and we're not swayed by brands and marketing and all this kind of stuff. But at its core, it's emotional decision making, and that's just who we are intrinsically as humans. So we make an emotional decision. I buy a Ferrari, and then I go, oh well, I need a Ferrari because blah, 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 and make these logical conclusions of it. And so there are varying ladders of the experiences that we get into that are predicated on emotion. So what I would say in terms of community building, from my perspective, is to try to connect emotionally with people, make sure that they feel safe, they feel heard, understood, seen, that they can take part in this. And I think what's really exciting for me about Web3 and why I ran screaming away from my consulting business is that many brands in this space take this broadcasting approach. And that's what I would say Web2 is broadcasting. They don't want to participate, they don't want your opinions, they don't want your participation. They want to serve it up to you, and then you're just supposed to eat it, whatever it is. And what the opportunity with Web3 and my hope is to use some of those brand connections to evangelize on behalf of the potential utility that this space has. I think it is so untapped. We're looking at it in terms of just like NFTs and JPEGs, but really we have this incredible permissionless, transparent tool to serve up all kinds of experiences to people, and all kinds of incredible collaboration opportunities that we've never had in the history of the planet Earth. I'm not going to keep going because I want Jessica to talk. Yeah, oh, you've got a mic. Okay, honey.
Jessica is one of those people on Clubhouse. I don't know if you guys used Clubhouse before Twitter Spaces. I spent way too long there. And when I got to Twitter Spaces, it was like, oh, this is what I need to say. But you follow me on Clubhouse, and I was like, it's your makeup. You are one of the most beautiful artists. I love your approach. I love your style. And I know that this was something really important to you, at the beginning of it, because artists, this is the Wild West, and you just took it in stride. I think you both did as artists. So, Jessica, please introduce yourself.
You were just awesome.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This is so loud. Sorry. Yeah, all these amazing people on this panel today. Like, I love you all so much, and what you guys are, creating and building. I know it's a platitude now, but we're building. We are building. Well, my name is Jessica Trotsky. I'm an artist, an author. I'm primarily known for my film and photography work, exploring body politics, beauty, and gender. I'm a poet. Last year, I entered the space in February and was minting, kind of experimenting. A painting totally just fell down. Is that bad luck?
I was just
So I started to put some work on the blockchain and experiment, and it was interesting because I really connected with Jen's work at the beginning because I feel like censorship is part of my career has been to battle against censorship and a lot about the patriarchy and a lot about body politics and beauty and gender and all these things that I have come up against being an artist. So I thought, well, coming into this space, I'm going to have autonomy. I'm going to have the ability to share my work without being censored. Well, that's definitely not the case, which we quickly found out. But as an artist in the space moving forward, and also a poet, I've been working on putting my writing on the blockchain and been thinking after that more expansively, like, am I going to just keep minting and listing and if I want to build in this space, like, what does that look like? So that's when I started this project that I recently launched called Room 707, and it's a secret society for artists, writers, collectors, creators of any type. And it's like, has a speakeasy vibe, it's like an underground, all of you women are a part of it. And because I want to think in a way where is this space going? How can we integrate what we're doing in IRL as IRL artists and NFT artists, however you want to label yourself? I'm not even comfortable with that, like people saying they're NFT artists. We're all artists, we're just creating in different ways and in different spaces and places. So prior to being in the space and prior to the pandemic, I was traveling around with my first book and I was going all around the world to different cities. So instead of having just a book signing to be self-congratulatory and sign my books, and I would go to the different cities and invite women, mainly women, queer artists, BIPOC, and host these readings. And it was just a wonderful experience. And so I started thinking about, after last year's sort of experimenting on the blockchain, can I do this here too? So that's what I embarked on. Pepper knows because she hosted an underground event at her place, which was dope. And we had so much fun and just, invited some poets in the space and hosted a really beautiful, gathering with some people that are in the audience here that actually read at that event. And so, having IRL events, having events, in Web3, I think, is really the future to kind of meld these things and see what fits like for your art. And for me, that's what it is right now. And when I think about community, for me, it's like on and off the blockchain. And I think there's just so much potential.
Love that. I think it leads to, so I love throwing curveballs. So get ready, and I did not get Tiptech's approval for this, so he doesn't care. But can we do it? So as a technologist, whenever somebody says like, oh, you're a woman in tech, well, yeah, that's technically true, but we're just technologists. Like, you're not NFT artists, you're just artists. Or when we say women of Web3, or all women projects, well, we're then kind of not being inclusive to everyone. So when we talk about community, when we start, saying this is a woman-led project, or this is all women, currently the NFT market is like 30% women. And if we look at these things as businesses, which we should, why would we sell to 30% of the market share? That doesn't make any sense. So when I think of this, I look at it like, how are we including everybody, like regardless of anything? Because we don't want we need everybody involved. So I don't know, let's talk about that. Because the whole women in Web3, like, we're just people in Web3.
Go ahead, you're picking up.
I think like a very Web2 thing is to label everything, right?
Yeah.
And people need to put things in a box. But in this case, there is a lack of diversity. And I think something like, just because it's a women-led project, which is never how I market things, but like people start saying that, right? But that doesn't mean we don't want participation for everyone and that we don't want to build for everyone. At the same time, like when last year I found out like less than 5% of all NFT sales like went to women, I do think we need to like remember that when we talk about this space as like something that can like break down all these barriers and like wealth redistribution, but that needs to go to literally everyone. So I just launched a project that was derivative and primary sales went to like, it was partially free, very low mint, went to girls who vote, in other mediums, and so I think like everyone's gonna make their own decision on that. But, yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And Pepper and I, with Crystal Bats, when we first talked, it was an all-women team, and that was the way we wanted to market it. And now we have this super crazy dude that's on the team. It's just, it has his camera out the whole time, like us or something. So that was a conversation we had that, well, first of all, it kind of came from my background of like, I always want more women in tech because that we have to have that integration because we write better code. It's more elegant. It's just a fact.
This is literally a fact.
It's a
Like,
fact.
this is not conjecture. They tested this. There was a big study, if everybody's not familiar with it, where they blind tested the efficiency of code. And they found that the women